Katie's heart tightened with worry as she watched her usually lively 4-year-old son, Jack, fall suddenly silent. The vibrant laughter that had once filled their home was now replaced by an unsettling silence that gnawed at Katie's core. Each day, Jack's silence grew more pronounced, his once bright eyes now clouded with an inexplicable sadness that sent shivers down Katie's spine. She was consumed by a gnawing sense that something was terribly wrong. Katie, a devoted mother in her early 30s, cherished her bond with Jack and couldn't bear to see him suffering in silence. Determined to uncover the cause of his sudden change in behavior, Katie noticed a pattern. Jack's behavior shifted dramatically when her mother-in-law, Martha, started helping with child care. Once outgoing and playful, Jack now seemed withdrawn and distant, retreating into himself like a turtle pulling into its shell. Katie couldn't ignore the growing suspicion that Martha's presence was somehow linked to Jack's sudden change, though she struggled to pinpoint exactly why. As Katie reflected on her family dynamics, she realized that the tension between herself and Martha had been escalating. What had once been a warm relationship had soured under Martha's constant critiques and judgmental remarks. These criticisms were eroding Katie's confidence as a mother, and Jack's silence was only making the situation worse. Feeling that she had to act, Katie resolved to get to the bottom of the situation, no matter how uncomfortable the truth might be. During Jack's birthday party, Katie observed Martha's overbearing behavior towards Jack with growing concern. Though Katie had a nagging feeling that Martha might be responsible for Jack's change, she chose to keep her suspicions to herself, not wanting to cause a scene in front of their guests. She decided instead to keep a close eye on Martha and confront her privately. When Katie mustered the courage to speak to Martha, her heart raced with a mix of hope and dread. "Martha," she began tentatively, "have you noticed anything different about Jack lately?" Martha's response was dismissive, her tone dripping with condescension. "Oh, Katie, children go through phases all the time. I'm sure he'll come around soon enough," Martha said, waving off Katie's concerns as if they were trivial. Katie felt a surge of frustration at Martha's flippant attitude but resolved not to let her off the hook so easily. Despite Martha's dismissal, Katie couldn't shake the feeling that there was something more to Jack's silence. Determined to uncover the truth, Katie decided to take matters into her own hands. She set up a hidden camera, feeling a sense of urgency. If there was something causing Jack's behavior, she had to catch it on film. As tensions between Katie and Martha simmered, Katie's relationship with her husband, David, began to strain under the weight of their shared concern for Jack. David's loyalty to his mother clashed with Katie's growing distrust, creating a divide that threatened their marriage. Katie felt a pang of sadness as she realized how deeply Martha's presence had affected their family. She knew that if they didn't resolve their differences soon, it could have serious consequences for their marriage and, more importantly, for their son. Katie's confrontation with David about Martha's behavior only deepened the rift between them. "David, please," Katie pleaded, tears streaming down her face. "We have to protect Jack from her." David's response was defensive. His loyalty to his mother clouded his judgment. He couldn't understand why Katie was so adamant about keeping Martha away from Jack, which frustrated him immensely. Katie felt a sense of despair as she realized how alone she was in her fight to protect their son. The fallout from Katie's discovery was swift and devastating. Martha's betrayal had torn their family apart, leaving Katie and David to pick up the pieces as they struggled to come to terms with the truth. Katie felt a mix of anger and sadness, shocked that someone she had trusted could be capable of such cruelty. It made her question everything she thought she knew about her family. Alone in her thoughts, Katie began to doubt her instincts. Was she overreacting? Was Jack's silence just a phase, as Martha had suggested? But deep down, Katie knew the truth. Jack's silence was a symptom of something far more sinister. She couldn't shake the feeling that Martha was somehow responsible for Jack's behavior, and she was determined to prove it, no matter the cost. As Katie watched Jack retreat further into himself, urgency gripped her heart. She couldn't afford to wait any longer. Whatever was causing Jack's silence needed to be exposed quickly. Determined, Katie spent countless hours poring over the footage from the hidden camera, searching for clues. Despite her frustration as she sifted through hours of mundane footage, she refused to give up hope. Finally, after days of relentless searching, Katie stumbled upon something that made her blood run cold. In the footage, Martha was seen speaking harshly to Jack, her words laced with cruelty that sent shivers down Katie's spine. Watching Martha mistreat her son filled Katie with a renewed sense of determination. She knew she had been right to suspect Martha all along and was more resolved than ever to bring her to justice. The discovery left Katie reeling, her worst fears confirmed. Martha's mistreatment of Jack was undeniable, but Katie knew she couldn't confront her mother-in-law without concrete evidence. Frustration mounted as she realized she still had a long way to go before she could bring Martha to justice. But Katie refused to let herself be discouraged, knowing she had come too far to give up now. Katie recognized the danger Martha posed to Jack if she didn't act fast. Jack's silence could become permanent, a heartbreaking reminder of the trauma he had endured. Panic surged through Katie as she realized how much was at stake. Determined to protect her son, she couldn't bear the thought of Jack suffering any longer and vowed to do whatever it took to keep him safe. As tensions reached a boiling point, Katie found herself locked in a battle of wills with Martha. Determined to protect Jack, Katie faced the challenge of Martha's manipulation and deceit. She felt a sense of frustration, knowing how difficult it would be to bring Martha to justice against such a formidable opponent. But she refused to back down, knowing Jack's safety was worth fighting for. The fallout from Katie's discovery was swift and devastating. Martha's betrayal had torn their family apart, leaving Katie and David to rebuild. As they navigated the aftermath, Katie felt overwhelmed by anger, sadness, and disbelief. The realization of how much they had trusted Martha, only to have that trust shattered, weighed heavily on them. But they refused to be consumed by bitterness, focusing instead on seeking justice for Jack. Desperate for answers, Katie turned to Jack's pediatrician. "Doctor, please," Katie begged, her voice trembling with emotion. "You have to help us. We don't know what to do." The pediatrician listened sympathetically, offering words of comfort and reassurance. Katie felt a sense of relief, realizing she wasn't alone in her fight to protect Jack. With the support of Jack's pediatrician, Katie and David made the difficult decision to cut ties with Martha for good. Though it wasn't easy, they knew it was the only way to keep Jack safe from further harm. They felt sadness at the loss of trust in Martha, but were resolute in their decision, knowing it was right for their family. Armed with newfound resolve, Katie and David set out to rebuild their family's shattered trust and heal the wounds left by Martha's betrayal. They vowed to create a safe and loving environment for Jack to thrive in. Determined to overcome any challenges, they felt optimistic about their future together. As Katie watched Jack slowly emerge from his shell, her heart swelled with pride. Though the road ahead would be long and challenging, she knew they would face it together as a family. A sense of hope filled her as she realized how far they had come, having finally turned a corner in their journey towards healing. They still had a long way to go, but they had overcome so much together. Katie's confrontation with Martha had been explosive, the truth coming to light in a torrent of emotion and accusations. "How could you, Martha?" Katie demanded, her voice shaking with anger and disbelief. "How could you hurt Jack like this?" Martha's chilling indifference confirmed Katie's worst fears. "He's just a child," Martha said coldly. Katie's voice broke with emotion as she cried, "How could you be so cruel?" Filled with a renewed determination, Katie took immediate action to protect Jack. She filed a report with the authorities and cut off all contact with Martha. A sense of relief washed over her as she realized Martha would finally be held accountable for her actions. Though the road ahead was daunting, Katie felt confident knowing she had done everything in her power to protect her son. As the dust settled, Katie and David worked to rebuild their family's trust and heal the wounds caused by Martha's betrayal. Jack's silence began to lift, replaced by the joyful sound of his laughter once more. They felt a profound sense of relief, knowing their son was finally returning to his old self. With Martha out of their lives, Katie and David focused on nurturing Jack's emotional well-being and strengthening their family bond. They faced the future with optimism, knowing they had put the darkness of Martha's betrayal behind them. If you found this story touching and surprising, please leave us a comment sharing your thoughts. For more inspiring stories like this one, subscribe to our channel or check out the other videos at the bottom of the screen. Thank you for your support.